When I was younger, my week centered around one day, Monday night. As you could probably tell, I was a pro wrestling fanatic. And I'd like to say I've grown out of it, but let's face it, some habits die hard. Hey, I'll admit it, I love pro wrestling. Always have, and I always will. And that's why I'm here today, because my friends and I, we have a lot of matches we want to talk about. What's the point of being a wrestling nerd if you can't talk about it? And if for some reason you've got a problem with that, I've got 2 words for you. Fuck you. What? Do you think I was going to say something else?
Now, of course, everybody always wants to talk about the Big Five, or it's Big Four now, I guess. Of course, you've got the granddaddy of them all, WrestleMania. You've got Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, the Party of the Summer, and Survivor Series, the Winter Classic. The one that they've cut out, and was actually my all-time favorite pay-per-view, was King of the Ring. I don't know why they cut out King of the Ring, because it was a classic pay-per-view that has given us so many great moments over the years. Now, of course, you've got the birth of Austin 316 at King of the Ring 1996. You've also got classic bouts like Shawn Michaels versus the British Bulldog at that same pay-per-view. Hunter Hearst Helmsley becoming King of the Ring. It's a classic, but you cannot, I repeat, not discuss King of the Ring without talking about King of the Ring 1998. And if we're discussing one single match, you obviously know which one I'm talking about. That's Mankind versus The Undertaker, Hell in a Cell.
Weighing 287 pounds, Mankind!
Now, with the Hell in a Cell match, you know this was going to be crazy, because as soon as Mankind comes out, he climbs on top of the cage, which is relatively unheard of at this time, because really there's only been 2 cell matches. One was the classic Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker, Bad Blood, and then there was like one on Raw. It was some tag team match. Who gives a shit?
First, who climbs up to the top of the cage? I mean, who just says, you know what, let's start it off where I'm going to get the most hurt.
But as soon as Mick Foley walks out, he climbs on top of the cage, and of course, Undertaker follows him in tow.
Mankind's about to get his ass kicked. Big time. That's the first thing that popped in my head. I mean, Mankind's tough, and he's big, and he's bad, but there's no way Undertaker is going to fall off that cage because of Mankind.
Within 3 minutes of the match came the one thing that everybody forever will remember about this match.
That's it. That is it. Sorry, Mick Foley, Mom, that's it. There's no more Mick Foley. He's dead. He's dead. He looks like a roach that got stepped on. He's dead.
Undertaker comes over, and what a dick. Just, well, here you go. Boom. I mean, as far as I know, they didn't plan that in advance. From what I have seen in interviews and things like that, I mean, he was just like, well, let's start it off like this. Boom.
Now, the funny thing is, when I rewatched the match and Undertaker throws Mankind off, the best part about him going through that table, if you watch carefully, is the Spanish announce team. Obviously, it was the Spanish announce table that they went through, because back in the 90s, that's every time they went through a table, it was the Spanish announcer's table. But if you look, I think it's Hugo Savinovich that he's in his chair, and he's just on an angle, and he can't balance, and he's like that for like a minute or 2. And they're showing shots and panning up and down, and Hugo is just there in the corner. Just, he's awestruck, he just can't move. And I don't even know if he's talking or what the case is, but wow, what is that? Now, after that, everybody thought the match was over. You couldn't tell if it was planned or not. It looked real to me, and you know, everybody comes out, Terry Funk, Dave, Hefner, or Earl, you can't ever fucking tell them apart. And even Vince McMahon comes out. Vince does not look happy at all. This made me think that this was not planned, that Undertaker and Mankind were just like, fuck it, throw me off the cage. So they were out there, everybody thinks it's over, they're wheeling Mankind out. For some reason, the Undertaker's still on top of the cell. They're raising the cell up. You're like, is Undertaker gonna die because he's still in the cell? Then all of a sudden, Mankind just says, screw it, I'm going back. He climbs back up, and what happens? Undertaker throws him through the fucking cell.
Undertaker, you know, probably hoping to do just the choke slam on top, you know, against chain link fence. Of course, you know, Mick Foley flies right through this thin metal, you know. I mean, the whole thing just gives and he swings right through.
I see him climb in the cage and I'm like, he didn't die earlier, but he is definitely going to die now. Man, I know Mankind is about to get shot up there and then fall off again, or God's going to strike him down with lightning, then he's going to go through the cage, go through the ring, go straight to hell, and then have a buried alive match in hell.
No. Of course, the match didn't end there either. They came back out, the trainers, Vince McMahon, Terry Funk, which by the way, somehow, Terry Funk got knocked out of his shoes. If you go back and look at the match, there is a random pair of shoes just sitting there in the middle of the ring. And it's not till later that I rewatched the match that I figured out it was Terry Funk's shoes. Why he took his shoes off, or was he scared at him? I don't know what the fuck happened there, but there's just a random pair of shoes just hanging out in the middle of the match.
Undertaker knocks Terry Funk so fucking hard, his shoes explode off of his feet and land on the mat. And I'm surprised Undertaker didn't pin his shoes and was crowned champion, as me, personally.
By the way, when he does that, it's when he picks him up and throws him out of the ring in that very awkward... Okay, most awkward toss out of the ring holding fanny pack of Terry Funk's.
The match continued, and Mankind, like, you could tell he was hurt, but he was just trying to put on a good show. He and Undertaker did what they could. This was not really a technical match by any stretch of the imagination. It was pretty much a slop fest, spot after spot. And it was pretty sloppy, but goddamn was it entertaining. One of the weird things whenever I was watching the match, and still to this day it astonishes me, is the tooth that ends up in Mick Foley's nose.
I didn't know what that was. I didn't know if he had somehow broken a bone. I guess there's no bone. What bone is that?
At first I thought it was a booger, and then I looked closer and I saw a crown and I said, wow, that's a fucking tooth in Mankind's nose. That's fucking disgusting.
You're watching this and you think, where are they going to go? Where do you go from here? Thumbtacks.
I'm just saying, sorry, I was saying it was funny because Undertaker has done nothing this whole match. He hasn't had to fall over anything, he hasn't had to do shit. And then now, not only does he not do anything the whole match, but Mankind has to take the tax. That's a little selfish. But I mean, for Undertaker, I mean, I'm sorry, he's too good for that shit. He can let the rodeo clown go ahead and take the tax. That's fine. I'm sorry. Mankind's not a rodeo clown.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but there is nothing that has compared to that since. And there probably will never be. I know it's not some Japanese bullshit hardcore match, but it's the most hardcore that you will ever see in the WWF, or WWE, whatever you want to call it these days. And that is actually one of my favorite memories from King of the Ring, 1998. I know I have my favorites, but what about you guys out there? Do you have a favorite match, maybe a favorite pay-per-view or promo? Doesn't matter, let us know, because we want to hear what you think.